Let's mix it up. Hello, everyone. I am here with my friend Steve.
Greetings.
We're going to talk about wargaming. Specifically, we're going to talk about, we did, what was it, 2 weekends ago?
Was it
We
2
did
Yeah, it was 2
March to
weekends ago.
Victory, our brand new convention, second year. And this year it was bigger. We had more games. We had more attendance. And I'm happy to say that it is now a self-functioning entity now. So
it's all grown up.
It's all grown up.
It's all grown up.
Unfortunately, we do not have a home next year, so we are immediately starting with finding a place for it. So
March to Victory out of your trunk. It's like trunk.
Yeah, in the parking lot at Aldi's.
In the parking lot, yeah.
So
yeah,
we got 2 people so far. We got award-winning GM Reese Crawford.
Yeah, Reese, you can use that for the entire year.
So Reese won.
I would go past that.
Reese won one of these, except he won it for Best GM Award. And this one's one that broke that I have to resend to one of our other winners, which was Bill Johnson for Best Historical Game. So we're legit. We got trophies and stuff.
One here.
Yeah, there you go. Steve got for most unique,
most sexy,
and I didn't win nothing, but I figured that was bad if I won that.
Yeah, you just win everything.
Yes, I won them all. I'll just keep them.
Hey, fellas.
Chris is here from
Charles is here. Walkabout Games.
He talked about a little bit about it on his show, but I'm going to go a little bit more in depth because he cheated me on my stuff. So Charles is here and Walkabout Games. So I was going to split this up because me and Steve really wanted to talk about mashing all these wonderful books into one game because we're constantly getting questions. Hey, how do I do this? Hey, how do I do that when I'm making a game? How do I put werewolves in my World War II and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chris, you didn't win nothing. So
anyway, this is not a commercial to buy every Wiley Games title, but it is, and you'll see why you should.
You'll see why. So let's see here if I can. I couldn't get my slideshow to load because it was too big. So instead, I am going to. It's the missus. Be quiet, Steve. So I am going to. I don't want to share my entire screen. I want to share my window. There we go. Share. Yeah. So you can see that. So our convention started on Friday night with a wonderful game by our guest of honor, Thomas Foss, and he brought his great Breaking Lances game, which is I'd call them 54 millimeter.
Yeah.
Cutout, so they mimic the look of the manuscripts, and it's played you joust against other players. The different the lengths of the posts are basically a turn of movement, and the way the game is played, you can kind of see these shields on the ground. So while each turn, you secretly plot where you're aiming your lance and where you're blocking the lance, or where you're blocking your opponent's lance, and then whether your horse is charging or just moving at a regular walking speed. And so it's a little bit of rock, paper, scissors, and you're trying to guess where your guy's going to aim, and then at the same time where you think you're going to aim and he's not going to block. And then if you win that particular round, then you get to add a dice to your tray there. You can see, And then when you finally clash, you add up all those dice, and that's where you get to make your hit. And you make 3 passes with it. So it was a great,
Friday?
great introductory game on Friday night, because Friday night's always kind of a little bit light. The vendors are all setting up. You don't get as many people as you do during the rest of the thing. So
there's some. Is that a headless Not Jay's arm right there?
possibly. There's Mike.
Yeah.
So we did that Friday night along with some other games. One of the ones that I set up was the 40K game. So this was a combination. Well, this is basically Bigger Battles. So it's our Bigger Battles game thrown in with the Grimdark Codex that we came out with. And so I found a bunch of files for 15 millimeter or for 6 millimeter epic scale Marines. I wanted Beaky Marines because this is the Battle of Ren's World from the cover of the classic Rogue Trader book. And so we're recreating that. So these were all, I took 6 millimeter files and I blew them up 250% to 15 millimeter. Everyone that walked past it was like, this is how epic should have been, like scale wise.
And I don't know if you mentioned this and I've just zoned out, but this is all of this. The codex for this is still, it's a living document.
Yeah, at this point we'll still be adding to it, and I'm thinking about doing a book just specifically for playing bigger battles like this. These are the orcs were all true lead. They were all painted up by Ken, and so you can see a rapier there and the orcs. So I ran it like 5 times, and I think the Marines won twice and the orcs won 3. So I feel pretty good about it. Balanced scenario. So really cool. You can see the rhino there.
So and if you guys you look at the photographs of all of the fire and the flames, Ken made those and they flicker. So he's got some that are the white light, and then he's got some that are the red. And when they flicker, they look cool as a static photograph, but when they flicker, it's really, really impressive, and it's a really nice effect, and it's super easy to do. It's just cotton balls that you hit with and you kind of fluff up. You hot glue them, or however you want to glue them, to like one of those little little flat tea-light plastic candles that you get from any kind of like craft store, and you
just got to get the flickery kind.
Yeah, you pop it with the spray paint, but you pop it with the spray paint before it's glued on because you don't want to paint the plastic.
Yep. So really great effect. So it so we just played bigger battles with it. So we had heroes, we had leaders, we had vehicles, and each game we had 6 players and 40 something units on the table, and it was over in 2.5 hours, played to conclusion. So it was great.
That's pretty quick.
Yep. So there's another shot of.
Oh, there's another shot. There's the award winner himself there, Mr. Crawford, and Not Jay.
That other dude. So this is Friday night, so still hasn't filled in yet. So speaking of Not Jay, this was his Salvo Island game. I would walk by and make snoring noises every time because that's how I feel about naval games. But it had quite the audience, and Not Jay printed out the island.
Hey, is that, what kind of tabletop was that, Chris? Is that cloth? Was that, I can't remember. Was that cloth, or was that wasn't like that mouse pad stuff?
I don't know. He'll have to answer.
Yeah, he'll answer in the LED tea lights.
So here was our awards. So everybody who pre-registered and bought a ticket got a miniature of this, like a 28 millimeter. It was our commemorative March to Victory miniature. This was the Alien versus Predator game. This was done by Joe Eddy, brought it down from Des Moines, I believe, from Iowa.
And he got the best
sci-fi game.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. I believe it's based on Alien versus Predator board game that he converted to playing three-dimensionally. So it was a big hit.
Did he
Looked,
build
looked
that?
really cool. Looked
Did he
very
build
cool.
that?
Huh?
Did he
Yeah,
build
those are all Hearst Arts blocks that he glued together. So Hearst
Gotcha.
Arts, they come in these flexible molds, and then you pour plaster into them, and then pop them out after they're dry. So those are all kind of meticulously all glued together. So really cool.
Not Jay said it was a cigar box battle mat, printed fleece.
There we go. And this was Ken's Samurai game. This was like a great little pickup game. If you could jump in and jump out anytime you wanted as you're passing by. So you had a Samurai Lord and his retainers, and there were some great extra rules to it. Like you got, like samurais didn't get any kind of glory for fighting anyone beneath them. And the best was if your samurai died, you could recite a haiku that you had to make up right there on the table, and if you did so, you got bonus points. You could still win even if you lost everything.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What was that called? Was that called Cherry Blossom Death? Is that what he called that?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So it was nice and just covered with thick, just tons of terrain, which is really cool. All the bamboo and all that kind of stuff. So, and this was all he basically scratch built most of it. So
that's great.
You could tell if you really look at it, there's little pieces from like Hobby Lobby or Joann's, little pieces of wood stuff and everything, but pretty fun.
Yeah.
This is the award-winning Reese Crawford's Vietnam game that he ran. I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the U.S. troops got mauled about every episode, about every time that he ran it. So
yeah, he was awarded best GM, I believe.
Yes, and he was playing with 54 millimeter guys.
Yeah.
So
what were those guys? What were those guys? I saw it from afar, and I was like, "Are those are 54 millimeter?" But
yeah, they're big. They're like Army man size, or a little bit bigger, actually. I think. Okay, Reese said it was 2-1, so Viet Cong won twice, and Chris said he took a RPG to the face twice. So, well, you know. This was Ken's Necromunda. We called it Necroplunda because it was
Necroplunda.
It was Galactic Heroes using Necromunda. So all the gangs had a gang trait, and that they had, and then teams were all looking for loot. Had quite a few like brand newcomers that played on it. It was a lot of fun. This was the Race to the Reichstag. Reichstag. There we go. Game popular with the geezers, and then Steve's Star Wars game.
Speaking of geezer,
yeah. So this was interesting because it was a great scenario that was stormtroopers were zombies, but people kept walking past it because they thought it was last year's game.
Yeah, it was. I had a lot of players on it, but we used the same scenario, or we used the same scenery as last year, and the object of this is a planet. Was once a Imperial outpost. The Empire's left it and left behind remnant stormtroopers. There's been hold on, I think my dog's losing his mind. Hold on one second. There's been they left it because there's been an outbreak of a zombie virus. So it's overrun by zombies, and rebels came in and thinking that it was abandoned to kind of get intel, and they got stuck down there with the remnants. And basically the object of it was to find an astromech droid and a power droid, and you'd get those to power up the old crash shuttle there to get off the planet. So there were 6 people playing. Everybody had 4 or 5 figures each. I can't remember, but there was a secret. If they talked to a protocol droid, the protocol droid would tell that person who talked to him that there's only room for 8 people on the ship. So everybody's kind of working together, trying to find the parts and pieces. And as soon as somebody finds out, oh shit, only eight of
Yeah.
us can get on there, then it turns into just complete
Then it turned into a brawl.
mayhem. But the zombies are there as basically like just, one part red herring and one part just a pain in the butt to deal
And
with.
I like to point out that before each game, you told the players, don't mess with the zombies. Just try to accomplish your goals. And what did they do?
Every game I said, don't, I said, here's a clue. You've got to haul ass. It's only going to get worse. I would avoid the zombies at all costs. And everybody was hunkering down in their corners and just shooting zombies as much as they could. And you would have, then when they found out that, one player knew the secret and he was getting all his guys to the ship, when they found that out, then that's when all hell broke loose. But it was a lot of fun. Everybody seemed to have a great time. It was a fun little scenario. But like Jay said, this is one of those things that, and I guess that's, like Ken said to me last week, he's like, that's the curse of having a memorable game, is that people will see this again and say, oh, I played that last year, when it was in fact a totally different game. But yeah, Mark J says people don't listen.
Yep.
They don't listen. They just like shooty.
And the teenagers, you can tell them whatever the goals are, and they just turn on each other and start shooting. So
yeah,
it was a great looking game. Steve cranked that ATST out pretty quick, and it looked fantastic.
Over a lunchtime.
Yep. So it was very cool. And then of course the cards looked fantastic. This one, I believe, was an Afghanistan game. Iraq or Afghanistan?
See, I don't. This is funny because I don't even remember seeing this.
Yeah, it was over by the bar. But it had lots of people playing too.
This is one of the things that is
15 millimeter. I don't know if he was using Flames of War or not.
This is the only drawback of being a GM at these cons, is that you really don't ever get a chance to play anybody else's. But you and I both made an exception to playing Thomas's game.
Yeah, which we'll get to here in a bit. But yeah, it was a great looking little game. Seemed to have lots of attendance. I believe this was Trent. He was also came in from Iowa to run this one, so appreciate that. This was the Aliens game. I wish I would have got more pictures. He had James Harness brought it down from Illinois, and he had run it last year, and I had some really good pictures then. But the cool thing was this whole thing just kind of folded up into a big box, and he could just carry it like an oversized suitcase, and it just opened up. I don't know if he's going to Cold Wars. I don't know if he's bringing this, but if you see, he is running one of the games up there. So if you go to Cold Wars, make sure to play in one of his games because they're always a lot of fun. He did. Reese said it was the last game was the Beirut 1970s that he had written, Chaos Cubed. Yeah, so if you get a chance to run it, play in James's game at Cold Wars, it'll be a lot of fun, and he'll have some of our swag to give out and everything. He's the one that ran Wily War Games Weekend, ran this great cowboy games. I'm like, I'm not playing Cowboys again. And then as we're walking by, we see the flying, floating sickles and the pumpkin monsters,
the corn mutant monsters, and like,
why didn't you tell me that's what you were playing? I would have played that.
You missold this game.
Oh, then this is Terror Island. So right here you can see Race, Johnny, the Doctor, and Haji, along with Bandit, floating out in the water, surrounded by sharks, trying to collect
the Johnny Quest gang, along with their friend Captain Pierre.
Yes. So you want to explain this game?
So long story. Terror Island is something that I wanted to do, and I've talked to Jay about it, about possibly making a campaign system and an idea for a campaign. And this was chapter 1, and it was basically, think of the TV show Lost, where it's an island that's out of time, out of place, and that you end up on it, you're trapped on it, you can't get off of it. And so Terror Island is basically all the world's greatest adventurers in the world fall onto this island to get its riches, its mysteries, just basically Fortune and Glory, and this first chapter is on the beach, and they've got to deal with Captain Nemo and some island thugs, and it's basically get the rich, all of Nemo's riches. These guys, somebody on the island is paying Captain Nemo off for security and protection. So basically, every team is made up. I've made them up except for Johnny Quest. I've got a couple of real teams that I've been slowly adding, but I kind of went around. My take on it is there's the Kraken that the Quest team gets in some serious doo doo there. But basically, it's like as a kid, I always picked comic books at based upon the cover. And so I put the cards down, and all you could see were the back of the cards. So it was like looked like a designed header for a comic book. And I made everybody that played the game pick who they wanted to be just based on the cover.
That, yeah.
And they seemed to have a great time.
Yeah, and the other part of it was Tehran is a great setting because we can literally do anything. We want to have undead conquistadors versus lizardmen, or
right, underground dweller mutants,
Vikings versus aliens. It's anywhere, anytime, so we can just use it as a setting, and it can make sense. So that was the giant crab that got fireballed.
Yeah. So again, this is a good example. You know, when we were talking at the beginning about mixing books and stuff, there's a guy in the very back top left. That's Simon Strange, paranormal detective. He knows magic, and he was the one that took out the giant crab. So right there, you have the two books. You have Tales of Horror, where you can get the giant monsters and kind of arcane type stuff, and then to add on to the arcane magic, you tap into the fantasy, and it's really easy to mix. You just decide what you want the character to have, and you just pick through the books.
Yeah, this was McMurray's big Spanish-American War ship battle. It looked really cool with the ships all being at waist level. I was worried because them being at waist level that some of the wargamers with their fantastic wargamer bodies were going to smack some bellies and knock them off. But over on the right, you can see Todd plays World War II. Wardrobe plays World War II. And
in a row.
McMurray in the all brown there.
Hey, Warmut.
Yes. Sorry you couldn't make it, Warmut. I know you wanted to. So some close-ups, you can see the explosions from the shots going in there. So these were really cool. It's a nice big size. He had a magnetized.
You know, you could. So those of you that watch Not Jay's show, every time McMurray's on there and they're trying to talk and he's running band saws or flushing toilets or whatever the noise is, he's just completely ruining the show, trying to ruin the show with. This is what he was making.
This is John's Plains Wars games. So this was Fistful of Lead, but Cowboys and Indians. Steve made all the cards. But figures, everything.
For the last time.
Really?
John's dead. He's got some dead horses. I don't know if you got a picture of them, but he has some dead horses.
This is early in the game.
Great. They're great.
Yeah, so when the horses got shot, you could use them as cover. There's some of John's painting skills. Not too shabby for a guy who really just started painting not too long ago.
Stupid jerk.
Oh, shit.
No, John's very good painter.
Chris Clucky's big 54 millimeter John Jenkins French and Indian War game. We put him up on the stage.
Yeah, he was main stage.
Yeah. Cool game. A lot of fun.
Those figures are awesome.
Yeah. And horribly expensive. So we ended the weekend Saturday night. Well, not ending it completely, but Saturday night was the Kessel run that Thomas put together. These are all laser cut. Oh God, not Millennium Falcons. I'm trying to think of what the.
Yeah, it's Millennium Falcon.
I know, but it's. I'm trying to
Kessel
think
run.
of the official designation for that.
Oh,
the YT.
Not Jay's got to know.
Sure.
Know what it is.
YT3. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's.
But
I'm embarrassed to say that
Thomas puts together these these games for his kids for their birthdays, and basically it was a big run to get to
Yeah,
the end of the
yeah.
Kessel Run. There we go, YT
YT
1300. I had it
1300.
most.
It's a Carillion, right?
Yeah. So you it was pretty simple. You rolled a die. That's how far you went. There were certain lanes, and
Yeah, stock like
if you rolled a 1 or a 6, it would trigger something. Either the TIE fighters would show up or a random asteroid to block you and stuff. And you could blow up the asteroids or blow up the TIE fighters. And when we first started playing, I, of course, rolled a 1 and then proceeded to roll 1s for the rest of the game. So I came in dead last, but it was I haven't laughed so hard since.
Oh my God, we were laughing
forever.
it was hysterical. And I will say the game before the game that we played in, maybe it was even the one before that, the howling and screaming and yelling from that table,
Yeah.
like everybody would like want to know what in the heck was going on over there. And that's the thing, is like Thomas has built this game. The rules for this and the gameplay are so
Like 2 pages.
insane, and it's just 2 pages. And as you can see what he's done, he's just got a sheet that he's spray painted on there. It's just very, very, very slick game.
Well, normally when he runs it, he lets people decorate their ships before,
Yeah,
and then they get to keep them afterwards.
and didn't you say that he did this for one of his kids? He built this for one of his kids' birthday parties, and they all got.
Yeah,
it was great. It's great.
yeah. So normally he gives you the ships, and then you can paint them yourself. We just didn't have time to do it. Then you get at the end of the game.
Not Jay said he came from dead last to second place to finish. Dead last to second place to finish, and yeah, there was no
and
way.
Then at the end of it, just when you
Jay
think
was
you're howling through, well, then the monster shows up, because you know that they hide in the clouds of the Kessel Run to stop you. So that was that was Saturday night. There's a close up there, somebody getting snagged. So the guy who's in first place, of course, is the one that always runs into it.
It was.
They think they got it made, and then boom.
Oh God.
Yeah, and then so after that, on Sunday morning, we did kind of clean up. I ran a gladiator game that I put together, and it worked really well. So let's see here. Let's see if that goes away. Does that go away? No, we'll go to this. Yeah, there we go. So that was a great little recap of March to Victory. But I wanted to show you guys the second half. I was sort of, me and Steve were going to talk about how to take all these books and shove them together to get the game that you want to get. So I put some examples up of cards that Steve did. So right here we got some Star Wars cards, and this is kind of a base. I mean, it's just Galactic Heroes for the most part, right?
Yeah, this is. Oh boy, I did these right when you were doing when you were still working on Galactic Heroes 2.0, because you sent me the PDF and it didn't have the pictures in it, and I was building. So I built cards so we could have a game of 2.0 when the actual rules came out. So yeah, this was, and again, it's like I follow the rules of the book, but I also take a little bit of liberties. And I think Jay has said that even in the rules. They're your rules. I've taken a little bit of liberties with some of the characters. If they've got, like, well, I don't have enough room. This character's got a hook for a hand, but I don't have room to list that as a weapon. Give it to them. You can fidget with it. And so these guys, their crew trait I put in a red, because I love to design this stuff. I put in a red stripe that goes across, so their crew trait is tactical, and I believe tactical is a secondary specialist, right?
Yep, you get 2 specialists.
Yeah.
So in this case, IG-88 and Dengar.
Yeah. So I felt that this crew of troops needed 2 specialists just because of who they were. So
Yeah.
this is a complete crew. And again, I'm not worrying about balance or points or anything like that. However, I will say that if I'm building stuff and especially with like Masters of the Universe or what have you, if I've got a group that's got I try to, like, if somebody's a master hand to hand at this on this group, I try to put a master hand to hand on some other if it fits, if it works for that group.
Yeah. So that was kind of the basics, telling you it's okay to do it. Just don't be gamey. So, and this was some of the other ones that Steve put together. So, again, this one has two specialists in the crew, but
Yeah,
we also give him 6 people. So,
yeah.
yeah. So let's get out of that. There's some more of the Star Wars.
Boba, and I've already changed Boba Fett's crew since then
Yeah.
because I've given him since this came out. Then he had the 2 Gamor. This was before Book of Boba Fett, I think.
Yeah.
And then the 2 Gamorreans. So
Before we do, so let's get into really mixing stuff up. So these are some of the Masters of the Universe guys that we did, or that Steve did, and you'll notice that, for instance, like Skeletor, he's got the magic from the Magic and Mages books. They're sort of a galactic heroes base to the whole thing. And then we've got some mutations brought in from Wasteland Warriors.
right.
I mean, that's
Yeah, and it's all like again,
a
it's
great way to make superheroes, that kind of thing.
it is. And this is one of those situations where it's like I look at it and it's like look at the characters, see what they have, give them what they have. And I was like Moss Man. And I went by the cartoon, the old 80s cartoon. So we're like Ram Man is an idiot and that kind of thing. And like Triclops and Merman were always like just cowards and scared shitless. When they were attacked, they'd run off. So those I put into the cards. And Jay had a really good suggestion about Manny faces because he has 3 faces and changed personas. He
So
has
it's 3 cards.
yeah, he has 3 cards. It takes an action to change. It takes an action to change your card or your face, but each one is like, if you look at the robot, he's soulless and he's got a dead eye. If you look at the beast version of him, he has no shoot, but he's got a close combat at 12 and he's ferocious. And regular Manny Faces is a horrible close combatant, but he's got a great shoot die. So, it's just making them who they are.
Yeah. So kind of lay out what you think the major attributes of each one of the characters you're making, and then just sort of go from there. So,
and Treadhead's Workshop, thank you for playing 2 games Star Wars.
Yeah. So here we've got spells we brought in from Magic and Mages. We've got some mutations from and then like Steve had added telescopic vision, so we just made up.
And if you watch the show and you look at the figures, like some of the guys have spears and like these clubs and stuff, and it's like, well, nobody's going to have a shoot, but if you watch the cartoon, they'll point a mace at somebody and it shoots a laser.
It's like a laser out of it.
Yeah. So then it's like, well, okay, there's nothing written in Galactic Heroes, so you just look at like you look and see what would you look in Galactic Heroes, look at the weapon list and go, okay, this makes sense to give him this. Or what if this, I think like Zodak, I gave him a mazer or something like that.
So the biggest thing to remember is look at the outcome of it and not the name of it.
Right. So like Evelyn, instead of a pistol, she's got a magic scepter.
Yeah. But it functions as a pistol.
Right.
And same way with traits, just because it has a name that doesn't necessarily apply, like, Deadeye or something, doesn't mean that they you know, that could be a telescopic sight, that could be a mutation. They got like a third eye or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and then these are some of the characters that Steve did for Terror Island. Again, these were kind of pretty basic, just following the rules, but it was literally just looking at the characters and then deciding, you know, like for instance, Winston, you didn't classify him as an animal. You just treated him like a regular dude and gave him, you know, stats based on
right. And then you just have a house rule. You let the person know who's having that. Like if there's tasks that need to be done, or sometimes I've been starting to put them on the cards. They can't do tasks. They're like if it's some they could. If it's like, you know,
Bandit knows how to switch on a laser.
Yeah, he can use his nose. He's not gonna type up a letter that says send for help and take it to the post office and mail it, you know, or fix a computer. But it just depends, and that's where the fun of the game comes in, and that's where the creativity comes in from the game.
Yeah, it's just finding characters like all these guys that you put together were just figures that you liked.
Yeah, they're just rando figures.
And made them. They're just like they're not. No one's telling you that these guys go together. It was fun. You needed
and I think
you needed the Fearless Five. So
the little kid in me, I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of figures, just weird ass rando figures that I'll just sit, and I've got boxes sitting over here next to me of stuff that I've on my to paint table that switches out all the time. But I'll go ahead and put things together in Cruise. It's all for Fistful of Lead, but I'll put it all in Cruise, and I'll have in my head, okay, this is gonna be a good group.
What's their background? Yeah, I'll just come up with a thing for why. Like I got that Zombicide in Space, whatever it was called, and was all excited for it. Then I got the actual miniatures, and the aliens were all really cool, but then the actual like humans, they're really weird proportions. Like
they're real weird proportions.
So I kind of threw them out, and I kept the aliens. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with these aliens? Oh, I'm gonna have them fight the new settlers that came to America, and that'll be explained how what happened at Roanoke Island. They were the ship crashed, and just a bunch of aliens attacked them. So I'm gonna have I'm gonna be taking horse and musket rules for them. And then, you know, making the aliens truly, you know, give them stuff from Galactic Heroes like Fangs and Claws and stuff like that. Rock's a rocket and the Ready Men.
Yeah, just regular news. And I think this group's changed up a bit because Handsome Max Haggerty has his own title now.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, but you can't beat Flint, Michigan. I mean, that's like the best name ever. Boom Boom Benetti. So yes, and then the evil villain, Victor Von Zombie. So you'll notice he's got like spells straight out of
fantasy,
and then we've got dudes in armor, and you know, Klaus Brawl.
Yeah, I think his crew's changed. So I'll change stuff up quite a bit. I'll get I have some onesie figs that I like, but don't have a group for them. And then after
I had more to that slide. I don't know where the rest of them.
I'll paint to him and go, oh yeah, he'll be good. He'd be really good in this one. So you can't use the stuff that I sent you?
No, I thought that was it. Hold on, I'm trying to get to it. Keep talking.
Oh no, that's all right. No, I was like, oh, this because these are old. These are the older ones. Because I had sent some Masters of the Universe. So on the title of mixing books. So now after March to this recent March to Victory, I'm already working on and planning out the next March to Victory. And if some stuff gets done sooner, it might be for Battles and Brews, or it might be for something else, but I'm taking my time with it. And if Jay finds the slides,
I'm getting there.
I know. because I've got the Lost Outpost on there. I'm probably going to take a break from Star Wars, unless something, I'm sure it will.
Well,
Something.
we'll have May the 4th game coming
Yeah,
up.
May
So
the
we'll have
4th.
Star Wars for
I'm
that.
waiting on. I'm waiting. I've got a bunch of Tusken Raiders to paint, and I want to do the village and have kind of a raiding party game where it will visually look different. And then you've talked about jungle, but I'm pretty excited. I'm jonesing right now on 2 ideas that I had.
There we go.
Oh yeah, here we go. Here's the Lost Outpost cards that we just did at the con. So the scientist is the guy who is one of the bad. If there were some jokers that came up, the scientist, Gorga, and Insector are some of the beasts that would hit the table of his experiments. But he's a pretty nasty guy to mess around with. But again, it's like I think he was pulled straight from some stuff out of Tales of Horror, maybe. I know Undead were. And then I think Insecta and Gorga, I just made up with. I've got all the books on my shelf. I've got them all earmarked and tagged. Yeah, here's some newer stuff.
Sorry.
With Stinkor and Whiplash, like
Whiplash. You just basically took the whip weapon trait, this gave it as a tail.
And it's like, it doesn't say, there's nothing in there that says this is this. It's like you can change it to be tail. There's a quicker example, Man-E-Faces. You can rename the traits anything you want if it fits your character better.
Yeah.
Who cares? Here's all the Johnny Quest cards. So Haji had spells, but he's a kid. It's harder for him to learn how to do spells. So he's not even an apprentice. He isn't an apprentice.
He is an apprentice, so he's an 8+. So familiar with the rules, magicians are either masters, and they use D12s, and they hit on like 3 or above. And if you're a journeyman, use a D10, and you hit on 5 or above, and then the apprentices hit on 8 or above. So
right. And here's Von Zoni's new crew, because I painted up Rottweiler and a Doberman Pinscher, and
we got a dog fight.
Hansel and Regrettel would be perfect for him. So I switched out the crew and give the big iron guy to Captain Nemo. But Bedelia Blight, she's got brass knuckles. I just thought that was fun.
Yeah, so you basically gave her the club traits from.
This is the example of like when I had that deck. There's still another character that I didn't fit on here that's his daughter that's on here. But this is an example of I wanted him to look like old comic book pulp covers. It's basically pulp. So there's some of Captain Nemo's crew with Zygmunt. He spits toxic ink. That's not in the rule books. It's just make what feels right. You're not making it to just completely wipe somebody out. You're making it to feel fun.
Yeah, it's a narrative. So Steve made these cards that were given out when they found loot, and so this is an example of mixing it. So I
did not have these, but this was something I wanted to have for March to Victory. This past March to Victory was have points on the game where instead I just used coins and money, or different areas where you could get things that would either be a hindrance, a danger, or help. I've got like things like a shrunken head, or some sort of magic items, or even elixirs. I've got like the Baron's special elixir, but all kinds of different stuff to help your characters throughout a campaign that you would collect over time. So, and I was going to hand draw everything. I'm still planning to do that and then get it all.
Yeah. You just went mute, Steve.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got apparently the Bumpus Hounds.
But we may make a deck out of these and just sell them as like stuff that people can use.
Yeah, because it's nothing. there, all the stuff that I have planned for this, and I've got a lot of them roughed out and planned out. There's nothing that is specific to a character. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
they might find a laser gun, they might find a blunderbuss. It's just for Terror Island. It's just goofy.
Yeah. So I also got in here
Oh
some
yes,
up and coming things we could talk about.
yeah. So this is a sneak peek of next year's March to Victory, and all I'm going to say to this is it is based on movie characters, and it'll be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of crazy silliness, and it's called Last Action Heroes. Oh, so Warmut says, will these cards be the size of zombie side equipment cards or regular size playing cards? I was hoping because I wouldn't
There's
be able
gonna
to.
be playing card size.
Yeah, because like I was hoping.
Why would I make them zombie side equipment size cards?
Dinky? I can't see that stuff. But this is kind of in the vein of this is in the vein of like 80s video store, 80 videos titles. Think about the characters from some of those 80s video games and playing as those characters. Or 80 video movies, VHS movies, and
all the deathmatch to see who's the greatest action hero.
That's right. So, and then finally, this is like something Jay and I have been talking about for probably 10 years, is doing a Fistful of Lead game as The Thing. And how would you do it? And how would you mimic the movie to where you don't know who the Thing is? Everybody that's playing has no idea who it is. And you've got different objectives that you have to do. And you have X amount of turns to get it all done because everybody's going to freeze to death. And so I now have all the figures. I have all the monster figures. It's not the characters from the movie. They're more pulp. 30s and 40s style characters that are outdoors, but I've got spaceships half in the snow. I've got blocks of ice. I'm getting ready to here in the next couple months get some snow cats and stuff like that, and dog teams. But I've got it. I emailed or I texted Jay probably last week, and I said I think I've got this figured out how we can do this and keep a mystery through the game and make it pretty crazy and slick. So I will have this. I promise. This will be at March to Victory next year.
Yes. Mini Warm-Up, we're thinking less like the action thing and more of the action heroes. So think more.
Well, so it could be. There are some stars in there that are not action heroes. I will say, think like Terminator, think RoboCop, think John McClane, think Kill Bill, and then of course, I don't know if I can get. If I can, this will be done, but I don't know if I'll be able to run this at March to Victory next year. If I'm at Battles and Brews, this might be done for this, but this is Terror Island 2. So,
so we just got the new dates for Battles and Brews. I gotta look them up here real quick because I've already forgotten.
So I feel like Marvel or Disney when they're revealing titles of what's coming out here in the
next year. You saw it here first, kids.
So yeah, Terror Island 2 is just a matter of sitting down and it's all done. I've just got to sit and make it out.
Battles and Brew will be Friday and Saturday the 14th and 15th of July. So that does not interfere with J3, Chris. So yes, Chris was a few moments.
Yeah.
By.
So I got a lot of stuff to do as well as Jay does, but that's and Star Wars is not on that list right now.
Yeah, I've got a quick project that we're doing, and then that I'll get back on my Glorious Adventures in the Age of Steam, Victorian sci-fi book, and that's going to be a lot because it's not only going to be settings, it's going to have rules for battleships in the sky, like bow scale. So like think of Space 1889 stuff. It's going to be like rules for like contraptions and at different scales, and then underwater battles. So you can have Captain Nemo underwater with his guys on the floor of the ocean with.
And I just saw, I was looking through places that have STLs and stuff. I just saw um, somebody that was selling STLs of different underground, or not underground, I'm sorry, underwater terrain, and it looked great. And then I saw somebody selling the dudes in diving suits.
Yes.
So it's like all this stuff is, it just gets
Giant
you.
sharks, all that kind of stuff. It'll
Yep.
be fun.
Yep.
So that's what we got planned. Let me see here. What else was I supposed to talk about? Robin gave me a list, and now I forgot.
she's gonna be tapping her hand over in the corner.
Yes. So no, we talked about Battles and Brews and how we did really good this year, and we're set up for next year. Other than
Yeah, and I will say it was great seeing everybody.
Yep.
You know, it always feels like a kind of a goofy family reunion. But you know, because you always get that uncle you don't want to see, McMurray.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great time, and it's great to catch up and play games and shoot the shit and laugh all day with everybody. So I you know, I'm already looking forward to the next one, even though I got to paint a ton of stuff in a year.
We'll have May the 4th over here, which will be a fundraiser for March to Victory Battles and Brews, and then maybe in December might be doing a snow brawl. So we didn't get to do it this year.
Oh yeah,
I was still recovering at that point. So
you were.
So while we got a few minutes here left, if anybody has any questions they want to throw our way before we sign off, we can answer them here online. And I've I finally decided my next little mini project is I've finally decided to get Reloaded. The original book is now going to be brought in line with the rest of the books. So it'll be much more like Galactic Heroes 2.0 and the core books. So
it'll be reloaded.
Reloaded. But for people who've already bought it before, we'll have some discounts on prices, and like the PDFs will be will probably be almost completely free. And then I'll be putting out cards that'll fill in the gaps from the old cards. So, for instance, the original Reloaded deck doesn't have sevens as special. It's only got one Joker. The twos do something different and stuff. So we'll be sending out a deck that'll be take those out and put these in, kind of a thing. So
yeah, Reese says fistful lead changing mags. I know one thing that you and I had talked about, and that I'm going to be working on here very soon, is putting out kind of like what Marshall, you and Marshall did with the Living Codex, the Grimdark stuff, is putting together a Star Wars version of that.
Yeah.
So, and I'll probably break it down by, you know, mercenaries and insurgents and all that good stuff. But I'm going to try to get that together for you. So that'll be coming soon too.
So much to do. And then I'm basically starting a new job. So it'll be trying to squeeze all that kind of stuff in. So, looking forward to the new Reloaded. Yeah. I mean, it's not completely new. It'll be 90. No, I want to say 90.
Renew.
Yeah, it's just, if you've got Galactic Heroes, it's going to play about the same. It's just, you know, and since it already has like 20 something scenarios in it, I probably won't be writing anything new. But and Mini Warmont wants to know about Gladiators. Yes, eventually, but my wife always tells me to do what I'm excited for, or else it's just too much of a grind. So
which won't be
other stuff that I'd like to do. I know we're gonna take a little break and play some superheroes here, and that'll probably get me in the mood to do that. So I'll be I might be working on that also. So our fistful spandex, what we call that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of crazy stuff that's coming, getting play tested, getting drawn, getting designed, and getting written.
Then we might be doing some completely left turn and doing some role playing stuff that will be unrelated to Fistful of Lead. So that'll be something completely different. So.
Role play all day.
Role play all day. So
Winnie Warma asks if there'll be a printed version of Grimdark in time.
Yes, because we're still it's a living rule book at this point. So we had a guy the other day that he had bought it off of Wargames Vault, and the Wargames Vault version doesn't have the not Necromunda guys in it, or the Undercity gangs, and that's because we don't update Wargames Vault. We always wait after we've put stuff. So if you buy it from us, you're always going to get the fresh and new. Wargames Vault, you're going to get the older stuff, but that's because Wargames Vault takes 40%. So we look at Wargames Vault as a way to introduce people, but then we always want you to buy from us because that keeps us in business, and you're always going to get the latest and greatest through us, rather than getting them through the other place. So, and if we've got any Europeans out there or guys from the UK, we are now selling that stuff through Caliber Books, and then we've got some other people selling for us in the US, Adler Hobby and Brigade Games. But once again, if you want to buy from us, that's always better because we make more of a profit off of buying directly. So anyway, all right, Steve, we made it. We made it a whole hour. So
a whole hour.
Yeah. So hopefully we got some people fired up to try some weird stuff. Mix in some things, make your own superheroes, make your own crazy characters you got laying around in the back of your lead pile that you don't know what to do with.
And as always, if you got a question about something or wanted something statted up, or questions about statting something up, or just questions in general, get on the Facebook page.
Get on the Facebook page or contact us through the actual store, the wiley-games.com. We have a place that you can contact us, and we usually get back pretty quick. So
I'm sorry if anybody's disappointed about that we didn't have mailbag today, but there was just a ton of stuff to cover. Mailbag never goes away.
Yeah, there was some stuff that was on there. We had a guy ask us if he had bought a PDF of one of the rule sets, and then he turned around and he bought a book later, so he wanted a refund for the PDF. I'm like, how? I'm not giving you money back for something that you will own perpetually. I don't know that you're going to go take the PDF and dump it off your computer somehow.
Oh boy!
So that kind of stuff.
Good times.
Yeah, Reese pointed out we get back pretty quick because it's right on my cell phone. I get that stuff pops up. So unless it's time change,
if it depends on if he's been drinking, what you get on the Surly rate ratio there.
Yeah. So, and sometimes it'll be me, sometimes it'll be Robin answering it, but she knows enough about it. 90% of the time she's got it. So anyway, all right, fellas.
All right.
Until next time.